Very interesting presentations have been here today, I must say, and I really liked the last discussion about recycling and electronics. And just before I start my own short presentation about Incap and how we work with green technology and environmental issues and sustainability, then we are all consumers. And there is a big power in being a consumer. If we want sustainable solutions and start demanding it, then the big corporations will also follow. So we shouldn't forget that. I got a very nice introduction, but perhaps I'll add a little bit on that. I'm Estonian. I'm born and raised in Sweden. So I lived my first life there and studied there and came to Estonia. Now it's already over 20 years ago. First as a student, like you guys, doing my master thesis in business administration, doing a case study on an electronic company here in Estonia. Then I went back a little bit to Sweden and came back 2004, I think, for real, and started working here. And since then I have had my home base here, even if I've moved around a lot in the world and worked. And so that's why I have this broad Swedish accent in my English, which perhaps not everybody don't have here in Estonia. So I apologize for that. So Incap, how many shareholders do we have of Incap here today? Oh, Jesus. Only me then, yeah? No, you should look into that. But how many know what Incap does and does? Not many either. So I'll start with talking a little bit about Incap, and then I come down to sustainability and corporate responsibility in general. So Incap, we're an EMS company. So an EMS company today, we produce electronics for other companies. So we're like a contract manufacturer. We are global in that sense. We have operations here in Estonia, we have a factory. We have in Slovakia a factory, in UK a factory, and 2 factories, and building our 3rd in India currently. Then we have a sourcing office in Hong Kong, and we have our small headquarters in Helsinki. We are listed on Helsinki Nasdaq since 1997, roughly 450 million in market cap, depending on the share price. And 2,500 employees all over the world. So that's us. We produce electronics for basically all different kind of sectors. You have automotive, you have aerospace and defense, you have energy, you have IoT and classical industrial electronics, so medical electronics. So we do everything. If you take a hammer to whatever electronic equipment, it basically looks so that inside you will find a PCB. It has components on it. Then that is attached perhaps with cables and so to some buttons, some display, and it has a mechanical emballage around it. And that is all. If it's a mass spectrometer for medicine, or if it's your mobile phone, in principle, it's very similar. And we do all of that. Some years ago, then subcontracting or contract manufacturing was only dealing with the manufacturing part. But today it doesn't look like that. Companies like Incap, we do a lot of services around production. Everything from product design up to different kind of manufacturing, engineering and manufacturing itself. Logistic solutions, financing, and aftermarket sales, and recycling, and it's a lot of different spectrum today that EMS companies take care of. So it's not as simple as we're only doing manufacturing itself. So it's a big topic I was asked to speak about, and normally when you have these big topics, then we had 20 minutes. I see the time is ticking, and either you are too short or you are too long. So it's very hard to match that one. But green innovation and does it increase the enterprise value? We see a lot of attention when it comes to our sustainability and so being a listed company, we have a lot of approaches from our investors asking how we work with our own corporate responsibility and how we work with the environment. This has become more and more important. It's not only about earning money as a company, it's how you do it. At least when you look at companies like Incap, which is like old money, not new startups in that sense, that how is almost as important as that you earn money. So we are very much into the topic, very much focused on our own footprint and what we do. And basically, environment is just one part of corporate responsibility. And I don't think that you actually can separate those. So if you look at corporate responsibility as a broader thing, like taking into account what your stakeholders' expectations are on you, then you have environment, you have social and governance issues as well. And these should go hand in hand. So you can't only focus on being environmental friendly and then you have slave labor at the same time. It's not sustainable in that sense. And I think in the debate we tend to forget that. We tend to forget that it's your whole footprint as a company that is really important. Incap also produce a lot of green things. So 80% of all of our products has to do with something green. Either energy storing systems, sun or how to say, solar power, e-mobility, smart homes, or something that has to do with something green. And these sectors are growing like crazy currently. There has been mega trends in this going on now for years, but then you have this sector escalated. We have the geopolitical situation currently in Europe and in other places of the world as well, where green energy have become a must. Not because everybody wants it, but because we need it as the other classical energy sources are not available. So we see a very much growth in the sector of green as well. So there's two factors now for Incap. One is that our stakeholders are demanding that we take corporate responsibility. The other part is that actually our business also has to do with something green and different green solutions. And yes, to answer the question, our share price have gone up, rocketed, and we do something green. You can increase the company's value through different green technologies. Sure, we are doing it every day. But how then are we doing it in that sense? When we talk about now the corporate responsibility part of the business, the other part is where we have customers and we produce equipment. There's a lot of devaluation of corporate responsibilities, and it's like goes some kind of trends in it. It's trendy to be environmental friendly, and it's trendy to think about the environment or to think about people and so on. Very many companies they throw this out there that they are environmental friendly. If you look at many of the new companies, the new money, they are even challenging, how to say, the norms and so of society that we have had currently. I was working some years ago. We had an e-mobility project where Uber was one of the scooter before they sold their scooters to Lyft in that sense, and one of our end customers. And an Uber scooter, the lifetime they expected for that in a heavy city like New York or so was 3 weeks before they replace it. 3 weeks before they replace the scooter. It's a scooter that cost, I know, on our part of the connectivity on that was a couple of €100. And then the scooters, we're talking about perhaps, say, less than €900,000 scooter that they will earn the money on, the business idea, get it, throw it away, replace it with another one. And so, is that green in that sense? Yes, it's very nice that you don't take the car to work, but is that thinking that every 3 weeks the scooter is replaced? I've seen some of the other business ideas as well when it comes to the scooters, and they have a little bit longer, but it's 6 weeks, 5 weeks. It's still not that this scooter will be there next year. Same thing with the e-vehicles or electronic cars. If you look at the whole concept of corporate responsibility, yes, it's very nice that we have battery-driven vehicles. But how is the cobalt and other chemicals or minerals mined for that? That is done with slave labor in Africa today. From a geopolitical situation, we have most of those mines are owned by China. And so now 90% of that. So there's a security risk in it as well. Even if we solve that, what we will do with the batteries once these cars are getting old? We don't have good answers on these questions today, but we are promoting it. Other thing is that are the electricity in the batteries now done with fossil fuels, like is increasing currently due to the crisis we have in, or are they done with green energy? That is also something that we could argue about. So it's difficult for companies and for everybody to take these standpoints because there is devaluation in the system and a lot of people are talking about it. There's also very few guidelines. So what should a company like Incap do to be sustainable and do to have a high corporate responsibility level? What can we lean upon some standards or guidelines? Here before in presentation before me, we talked about, or he talked about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So also Incap, we have taken this into account. This is a document, I think it has its origin from early 90s, if I remember it correct, 92, that then the smart people in the world came together and said that this is what we need to do to be sustainable. And from this United Nations Global Compact Initiative have gone, so it's a way for companies to sign off on 10 principles, and to show that we follow and believe in these values of creating sustainable business. And I look today that just over 17,000 companies today have signed it, like Incap has done. And it's 17,000 companies. That perhaps sounds big, but in the world it's nothing. So to commit to this target is just a fraction of companies that actually have done it. So how do we do it then in practical? Once we have agreed upon this and aligned our values and so with these things, then and we have the pressure from our stakeholders that we should report it, then there is also a problem is that there is no reporting framework available. The best one is the Global Reporting Initiative, the GRIs. But it's also so that there is no standard currently in any country or so how companies should report different corporate responsibility KPIs. But we choose the GRI, that is the biggest one. And if you look at then where we position ourselves, we looked very much on that we are doing a lot of good. We have environmental systems, for example, and so in all of our factories and how we work with it. So it's the reporting that is the key. But there are, of course, companies in the whole pyramid here in the world, and very many of, I would say, are unfortunately on the bottom level. So as I mentioned, it's not only environment that is important. It must be balanced. Business should be sustainable. We were talking here in the coffee break about management, and management is also so that it's taking a resource and taking it to achieving a target. And how you do it, it's not important. You can achieve the target anyway. The pyramids were built with slave labor, and a lot of people died. There was no work safety there. But to be able to do it sustainably, to do it all over and over again, then you need to think about other aspects. And it's the same with the whole business, that earning money by pulling somebody's pants over their head once, you can do that and then and scam. But if you want to have relationships with stakeholders and do it continuously, you need to think about different aspects. So our corporate responsibility program is built around on 3 fundamental. We have the economic responsibility. We have a growth strategy, but we want to grow profitably. Many companies today, they are sacrificing profit for growth. And is that sustainable, that you have companies being bigger and bigger and bigger? Somebody throws more and more money on the fire, and then you hope that the fundamental fuels will start burning at some point, or just the money will burn up. You never know. And of course, social responsibility, as people are the key in any business, and the highest value, to take care of your people, your own people, and also the people around the factories and operations. That is a very important thing, and we take pride in being an equal opportunity employer and family friendly, and so, because that is important. I don't want to work in a company which is not taking care of me. And so in the end of the day, and of course environmental responsibility is very important, that we do what we can to limit the usage of the resources that we use, and to leave as small environmental footprint as possible for us. So to summarize our responsibility program. So basically we have taken then the key themes. These key themes we have broken up into 3 different aspects. These aspects then we have chosen the GRI topics that are correlating to those and so. And then we have broken those down in different KPIs when it comes to what our factories do. And in the end, then the targets and it all falls back to this global United Nations initiative and those 17 points that comes there. And out of those 17, 9 are relevant then for us in our everyday business. So if that perhaps shows how we do it in practice. The key thing, I think, is that any business can have any ambitions they like, but if you can't get your people with you to do this, it's useless. So Incap, we work very decentralized. We have a decentralized business model. So all these initiatives and the work, they come from down up, not top down. And I think that has been very successful for us, also driving through our corporate responsibility program, where we built our values. We worked together with our team in the different countries to set up our different, our code of conduct and our values, and that is driving the whole topic of corporate responsibility. And you should not forget, I think, that if you take one thing from this, that people are the most important in any operation, and you need to enforce them and empower them to flourish, then the rest will follow. So I think I'm more or less on time. 1:16 it says now, and already the guy is jumping on the moon. So I'm ready for questions.
So you actually have more time for questions. That's very clever. Ladies and gentlemen, who wants to take the first one? I see a familiar face there with a hand up. Appreciate it, by the way. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed your talk, and the way you spoke about being environmentally friendly. I have such a question, because currently companies are competing to enlarge their revenues and maybe lessen their expenses. And if you are transparent and responsible in any stage of your cycle and you report, that means that probably your expenses are slightly higher and then your revenues are slightly lower. You cannot afford selling products for cheap price. But not all the companies have your thinking, and there are quite well-known companies with huge marketing who are much more responsible than you. Then how are you competing with these strong competitors who maybe would offer much less environmentally friendly product, but for a lesser price, and they can invest more into marketing and attract more consumers? So how can you survive in this piranha pond?
No, it's a very good question in that sense. But I think the key is that you don't need to do business with everybody. So also as a company, you choose which customers you interact with, and in one way, it's perhaps. Also outside the market mechanisms or forces itself to set it, because if my price is not competitive, even if now in our sector is very difficult, everybody have the same price, quality, and so it's how you deliver the services that is the differentiator in electronics. So what values you have and how you do that comes in very much into the play in electronics in general. But if I answer your question in general, then perhaps everybody is not suited to do business with each other, and there are people who value the same things and are willing to perhaps pay more for that. And it doesn't need to be so that you pay more even. I'm just saying that it's not that black and white in all cases. But you have to put it short. You don't need to sell to everybody in this.
How often do you refuse a contract purely because of environmental aspects?
I think that is not so often that is environmental aspects, because the companies we engage in normally are already in some kind of sector. But I would say that of course, if some customer don't like our offering for some reason, in that sense, is it price or so, and then it could be indirectly, of course, due to environmental aspects as well.
More questions, ladies and gentlemen. Please raise your hand if you have any. Go ahead, sir.
Maybe continuing the question what you had, thinking about the other way around, how often you are suggesting something to your clients in environmental better doing?
Yeah, we are always working with different, I would say, suggestions or solutions for our customers. Are they then technical, or for example, if we have business cases, we have one here in Estonia, a good example where we deliver the brains to smart meters into Finland, and there we have for the packaging material we have a recycling system in place. So where it's applicable, then of course we actively try to suggest and promote ideas. And for many of our customers, or I would say the most of our customers, is very important as well. Then of course it's very hard in some cases to do it because we only influence our part of the value chain, the manufacturing and perhaps the design and so in some extent, but then other parts of the value chain are in others' hands, and there of course we can have an opinion and try to push them to change. But yeah, we are only one small company out of the 17,000 though. But 17,000 companies in the world is nothing. It is a drop in the sea.
Any more interventions from the audience? Well, you'll have a chance to ask Otto later during the panel, but I'm going to perhaps take one more question. So how would you describe the leader's role in building a culture of innovation? And perhaps could you share some practical tips? What have you accomplished in your company?
No, I think any innovation needs to have an environment where you can do mistakes. So you need to, as a manager, create environments where people dare to take responsibility, because responsibility is something you can't give to people. They need to take it themselves, and to create an environment where people are willing to take responsibility is the key. And then innovation comes. Innovation is trial and error. It's trial and error. So for any innovation that is done in the world, there is hundreds or even thousands of failures that has done. So if you want a company to be innovative, you need to be able to fail as well in the company without getting your head shot off in this.
You see that as a common practice in most innovative companies. I mean, you can't be innovative without it.
I think you can't be innovative without having failures as well. Yeah, I think those goes hand in hand, because from the failures you learn to perfect whatever then you're developing. So the failures are that is the valuable part of any innovation. Of course, there might be somebody coming and getting an idea and it works immediately, but I don't think that is very likely.
Ladies and gentlemen, more questions from your side?
There will be a test on this later, so you know, for the students. Yes.
Yeah, you should pay attention. If not, then let's leave it here, because we still have a panel to come, and I will enjoy our dialogue on stage in about 45 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, an applause, Otto, of course.